Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and this is
Autumn Garibay.
and this is
Logan Garibay.
and this is
Tyler Garibay.
and today we're going to talk about hedgehogs in Pennsylvania, invasive species, and Andrew Yang. All right, Logan, you recently found out some information about hedgehogs in Pennsylvania. What did you find out?
Yeah, so what I learned in the exotic pet research I did for the Tiger King video, I learned that hedgehogs, you can't own them in Pennsylvania because they're an invasive species, and they're going to go on about that. So, yeah.
So, okay, let's talk about our understanding of invasive species. Go ahead, anybody jump in.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Logan. Go ahead, Logan.
So I've seen this on the web. It's just an example. So I think Hawaii, they had a lot of mongoose shipped over from, I believe, like India, because that's where they're native from. And so they got a lot of mongoose. But then, once they're there, living in the nature all around, they started messing with the environment. And mostly killing, like, a lot of the smaller wildlife. Like, they killed a ton of birds, a ton of mice, a lot of wildlife there. So, that's really why. Because they're invasive species, they're not where they come from, and they shouldn't be there, because they harm what's living there. So, that's really an invasive species.
So yeah, that's a great example. And I think as like a running definition, an invasive species is an animal or plant or thing that is not native to the environment it's in, but does really well in that environment. So they are thriving. They love the food, the air, the environment, and sometimes it can hurt the native species that it's competing with. So that's like an example, like mongoose. But would you like to give another example?
We'll get there. Go ahead.
So my experience is as one of the very right now in Pennsylvania and along the East Coast, there's a real problem with this one invasive species. It's been killing our environment, specifically trees, and they are spotted red lanternflies. And
right.
They've been just destroying and trees. They particularly eat at the bark of trees. They don't have any natural predators, so that's why they thrive. I know sometimes even when animals from the wrong place or a different environment come over, that doesn't mean they're exactly invasive species, because as America didn't originally have cows. They didn't originally have cows, horses, as I think sheep, a lot of that that we think of America just having, like staples for America.
Those are awesome examples of invasive species, right? But I said at the beginning that we were going to talk about Andrew Yang and invasive species. But everything you all talked about was so terrible, right? It seems like these invasive species, they're bad, right? Well, first of all, even on the bad side, there's a lot of things that do map to Andrew Yang. So I'll give those. And then I'm going to talk to you about invasive species that aren't so bad. All right, here we go. First, invasive species that my idea is, okay, so what is one common word across all those animals? What are they? Are they predator or prey?
Predator.
Exactly. Yeah, mostly invasive species are predators.
So I think we were talking about problematic invasive species that were predators. Things like we were talking about hedgehogs. Not all invasive species are predators. Not all of them are bad. So just
are
keep
hedgehogs
that in mind.
not predators?
No.
I don't know. No, I don't know.
What do you think they prey on? I don't believe hedgehogs are
idea
predators.
what
Please
a
correct us in
hedgehog
the
is.
comments if they are predators.
But spotted lanternflies are not predators.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there is one thing. Many invasive species, some invasive species are predators, and Andrew Yang is absolutely a predator. He did not win but he defeated a lot of people and lasted way longer. Kamala Harris, Kristen Gillibrand, these are Beto O'Rourke, Cory Booker, these are traditional, dyed-in-the-wool politicians, and Andrew Yang absolutely wrecked them with tooth and claw. Like, he stayed in longer. He is a predator. Let's talk about delightful invasive species. My favorite invasive species in the world is hippos in Mexico. So, you know what? I'm sorry, it's Colombia. So Pablo Escobar, he made a ton of money doing illicit deeds. Literally hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe well over $1 billion, right? Maybe billions. And he took a group of African hippos and put them in Colombia. And from that point forward, right now, there are like 50 to 70 hippos in Colombia right now. They're totally an invasive species. They do not belong there in any way, but they're absolutely delightful. Literally, people will come, like they'll just waddle into some of them will waddle into villages. People will pet them, feed them tacos. It's crazy, right? Some of them are exactly what they always were in Africa. Super deadly and like kill people in the river, right? Like, they do not belong in Mexico. But I absolutely love Pablo Escobar's the hippos and the hippos that have grown since Pablo Escobar brought them here. I call them Pablipos. And understand, and so, Andrew, go right ahead.
I'm sorry. Where did they come from and where did they go?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely,
you said,
yeah.
Colombia,
Right,
place,
so-
and Mexico, and then Colombia and Mexico.
Okay, Colombia. They came from Africa to Colombia.
Sorry,
Yep.
you said they were...
Not Mexico.
You
You're
said
right.
they were in Mexico.
No.
Okay.
They're in Colombia now. And actually, it's been 20 or 30 years. They could have made it all the way up to Mexico. People don't even know where all the hippos are. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Can I give
Yes.
an example of my favorite invasive
Yes.
species? So, the hippos are awesome. I believe it's starlings. It may be another bird, but there was a man a while ago that wanted to bring to America every bird mentioned in Shakespeare's plays. So,
Yep.
this is one of the things we were talking about. We're like, coolest intentions ever, and yes, some negative consequences as they compete with native birds. But if you look at them, starlings are beautiful. They like fly around in these big like swarms, and they're one of my favorite birds to see. But would not have been here without that Shakespeare fan. So yeah.
And honestly, I have to say, I really feel that Pablipo is the absolute perfect analogy to Andrew Yang, in that he is he's strange, and you're like, what are you doing here, right? He is powerful, he is strange, he's in a place where people said, you don't belong here. Literally, major newspapers were saying, Layman runs for president. Why? He's not a politician. What's he doing here? He's out of place. But at the same time, just like the powerful, beautiful, strange, wonderful hippos in Colombia, who were never meant to be there, people are delighted by them, right? Including me. And I think Andrew the Yang was the same way. He is just bigger than life. People were delighted by him, and he's just the most awesome invasive species. Any other thoughts? Go ahead.
Absolutely. So again, with my definition of invasive species to be something that is not native to an environment, but thrives in that environment.
Exactly.
With
Yes.
the environment being the political sphere, that's absolutely Andrew Yang.
Exactly.
No, he was not a politician, but I do believe he thrived on that debate stage. While he was on it, of course, maybe. So
Yeah, he did. He absolutely did.
Yeah.
He crushed it. He did. And honestly, here's the other thing. The only reason Andrew Yang has no one who can beat him. Not a single candidate defeated him. The only thing that beat Andrew Yang was this simple, insidious idea in 51% of Americans' head that a president has two attributes. The two attributes that the first 43 presidents had. It's horrible. It needs to be cut out. It needs to be, it needs to be culturally destroyed, that idea. And we're trying to. And clearly we failed for 2020, but that's the only predator that Andrew Yang had. None of the candidates could have beat him. I'm convinced of that. Now, all of that to say, and you're exactly right. I think one thing that was also really wild is Andrew Yang displayed behavior that was not native, right? You know, he just spoke truthfully, he spoke honestly. He just brought all these things, that his nobility, his massive intelligence. You just didn't see these in a lot of candidates. You saw, like, there are candidates who had massive intelligence. There are candidates who had nobility, but almost nobody who had both, right? Charisma, all those. Andrew Yang was the full package.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Definitely, and a point to add, like for invasive species, like specifically the red lanternfly, it has no predators, and that's why it's able to thrive. I've just like how Andrew Yang, and for like every other candidate, Bernie Sanders, people could attack on him about his heart attack and his socialism, and each person being like a politician and could be easily attacked and
right,
be
because of
preyed
what they
on.
were, right.
But since Andrew Yang was not a politician, he was a person.
Yeah.
He has no predators, and that's why he's able
They
to
couldn't
thrive.
come at him, because what are you going to say about Andrew Yang? Oh, I'm going to insult you for your 2 Ivy League degrees. I'm going to insult you for your benefit, your beneficial organization you had. Oh, I'm going to insult you. Like, there was nowhere you could get a grip on him. He was like an oiled pig. He just slipped out from any attacks that came at him. Whereas, boy oh boy, for Bernie Sanders, dyed-in-the-wool politician, and he made his bones talking to a whole lot of literal communists, right? And if you go back in there, people are dredging out the time he sung with sung with his comrades and and literally went to Russia. Like, there's so many things from his political background that were absolute hooks that other predators were able to dig in on. And Andrew Yang just slipped through, right? And the only thing that beat him was that simple, insidious idea. Now, with that said, I think Andrew Yang is just like the Poblipos in that right now he's in the jungle and he's swimming in the river and he comes out every now and then, you see him, but he's not really doing what he should do, right? And I truly believe now is the time for him to unsuspend, come back in, and wreck these 2 pathetic, very bad competitions that he has. What do you guys think? Do you think it's time for Andrew Yang to unsuspend his campaign? What do you think?
Yes. We started this off with hedgehogs, and I think the Poblipos are great analogies. I also think hedgehogs specifically are a great analogy for Andrew Yang, because look them up. They're adorable. They're a great animal. I really wish we could have them in PA, but
Right.
a governor legislated against it. Similarly, the only thing keeping Andrew Yang from being our president is the powers that be.
Yeah.
But as we said, he thrives in politics. So I think we should have hedgehogs in Pennsylvania, and I think we should have Andrew Yang in politics.
Back
and
in
I don't
the
think
race.
those ideas are too different.
Amen. What do you think, Logan?
I don't want to sound like kind of pessimistic, but I don't really think Andrew Yang would kind of do anything if he unsuspended his campaign.
You think the same things that stopped him before would stop him now?
Yeah. Another thing is anybody else could do this. Like, anybody else could unsuspend
Oh, you're
their
100%
campaign.
right. Go ahead.
But no one did.
Right.
So it's probably never going to happen. But there is that chance. But I'm sorry, I just don't really think that's going to happen. It seems unrealistic in my opinion.
But,
I understand what you're saying. Go ahead, Tom.
but do you think it should happen?
No, that's okay. Yours was good. No, stand on your ground. I totally...
No, I don't think it would help the country in my opinion.
To bring Andrew back in.
No.
So do you think that the current 2 should remain in place and people should just vote for who's already won the most
Yes.
nominations? A lot of... That idea is not that crazy. A lot of people agree with it. And I will say this. I definitely admit that Logan is right. This is a crazy idea, and I will say this now. I really think the only way you're going to win 2020 is with the crazy. And you know why I think that? Because that's exactly how 26 was won. 2016 was won with crazy, and 2020 is going to need to be run with crazy. Crazy ideas, crazy ambition, crazy heart, crazy courage, and I think Andrew Yang has all of that. All right, so you know what? Actually, we'll wrap it with that. We'll save other material for later beats. I just wanted to give you a heads up that the hedgehog thumbnail for this video is an original piece of art from Autumn. And
Again, I think they're very cute. I think they're a great animal, and I think Andrew Yang would be a great president, because I do want to make that connection. Thank you for having that as a thumbnail.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting us share this idea with us. And if you think Andrew Yang should unsuspend, because he is most clearly understood as thinking of him as an invasive species, let us know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.